is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV Prime. Well, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, of course, are arguing about it, but there's no doubt that artificial intelligence has the power to change our lives in just so many ways. We're already beginning to see the first signs of that in India. People also aware of the power of artificial intelligence and how we can harness it to solve some of the areas which are facing the biggest challenges for an India hungry for the best quality education. We've already seen access is a problem, but can AI change that? Can our young rise up to the challenge? This, of course, is our focus over the next half an hour, where we speak to some winners who've taken part in an AI challenge, and that was taking place at IIT Delhi. What were the kind of challenges posed? What, more importantly, were the solutions? And what about groups that brought them together, like OpenEd.ai? Of course, the role of the government's think tank and people like Amitabh Kant in pushing the boundaries in helping a young India explore just what AI can do. Well, all of that and lots more coming up over the next half hour. I'm Natasha Jog, and let me introduce my panel to you right away. I'm joined by Devashish Sharma, Harsh Arya and Ramdra. They are all the winners, in fact, of that hackathon. Many congratulations. Also with us, someone who got this entire project together, Anshul Bhagi. He's the co-founder and co-director of OpenEd.ai. This is a global non-profit solving problems in education. Up first, let me just start with winners. It's all about you. Devashish, the fact that this is using AI to solve challenges in education. It is very niche, but I would imagine it is very, very key. How did you get interested in what you're doing?
So my team's background was in computer science, and we have worked with AI before, so we understood how to implement technology. But I think the opportunity was introduced to us by Mr. Amitabh Kant. We attended one of his lectures at the hackathon, and he mentioned that the problem in India is that high quality education is still concentrated in major big cities. So a lot of rural and small town kids have to migrate over there to get access to good quality teachers, right? With AI, it is possible to scale the teaching methodologies of one good teacher to anybody and everybody in this country. So that was the opportunity we went about, and this is how we this is what we wanted to build. So that's what we ended up building. Right now, our project works to teach mathematics in a customized and personalized way, so that any student do not have to learn English to learn mathematics, so they can learn it in their own language at a pace that they're comfortable with. That's fascinating. So basically, again, the issue of access, and we've seen what language barriers are doing. We've seen the whole language debate even at our top institutions like, say, the IITs, and how there are a certain number of students, a certain kind of student who unfortunately gets left behind. Let me come back to you. Ramdra, there are all those, who would, the cynics perhaps, who would say, but how do you get, again, technology and the access of just technology, before we get into AI, in a country like India comes with so many challenges? So in that context, what role can AI play? What would you say?
Actually, AI can be, in most of the cities, we all see that the learning is through projectors and through screens and all. But we all see that in rural areas as well, the smartphones are all accessible. So we can take these technologies and these apps to rural areas and go deep into India through the apps and all, using cell phones. Even though some would say that there's still a question mark on how digital India really is. But exactly. But the problem is, we have to make them understand better how to use these apps, and we have to make more user friendly for them to use these apps. Okay. Harsh, what's been the biggest challenge, and what do you believe has been your biggest success?
The biggest challenge is to provide an interactive and adaptive experience for the student to learn things. Currently there is a classroom model learning where the students go learn and just get out of the class. There is a average reading span is about 10 to 15 minutes. After that you join out of the class, then you come again for some seconds and then lost after delving into an hour, you hardly get 30% of the material or just get lost. So the major challenge is to make this learning experience interactive so that people can get hooked to the material they are reading through. So the biggest challenge for me in this hackathon is to build an application that will engage user to the reading that he is currently doing.
I see, and clearly you seem to have hit the nail on the head, which is why, of course, all of you are winners. But Anshul, come in here at this stage. Like I said, there's still a debate on artificial intelligence and on the boundaries, really, that man is really pushing. Musk and Zuckerberg arguing about it at a different level. But how do you believe that AI can transform the education space? I mean, we're talking about access to everybody. We're talking about language no bar. We're talking about the ability to absorb more and make it more personalized.
Sure. I would even expand your question. It's not about how can it. I think it's a question of how it can transform and how it's a necessity to transform education in India. I think Devashish got us to a really good start when he pointed out in Mr. Khan's words the challenge of scale with quality. I think what AI can do, which no traditional technology has been able to do, is to provide that quality that Harsh is talking about, the interactiveness, the engagingness, while being able to scale at the cost of software. Because as you talk about rural India, you talk about parts that aren't digital, we need more than ever technologies and solutions that are affordable to that group. And the benefit of AI is that unlike any technology before it, it can provide high quality learning experiences in the case of education, but even in other sectors at a cost that the masses can afford.
Okay.
And this AI for Education Hackathon, we, OpenEd.ai, put it together exactly for that reason. Turns out there's a lot of research happening in AI. It happens in universities around the world. But that research is funded by companies that aren't working on education. They're working on low-hanging fruit or highly capitalized industries like autonomous vehicles, etc. And so we wanted to bring focus and smart people like the ones you have in your room right now. We wanted to give them a chance to put their minds to the task of solving these problems.
Okay, fair enough.
With artificial intelligence.
Okay, fair enough. Anshul, this is just a quick question to that. What really was the kind of response? Because you're talking about AI, you're talking about AI in education, making that very niche. What is the kind of response that you got? I mean, here, of course, are some of the winners, but was it an overwhelming response? Were there loads of great ideas? What did this sort of reveal to you?
Very pleasantly surprising and overwhelming response. This was the first hackathon of its kind anywhere in the world. Nowhere have over 1,000 people participated from universities around the world, 300 from IIT Delhi, 1,100 from around the world, come together to solve problems that are very challenging problems to solve with machine learning and artificial intelligence. First of all, ML, machine learning, and AI are very new fields. And second of all, for the reasons I was mentioning, the focus isn't on education, it's on other problems. So even though it was the first of its kind, we are very delighted that we had such a large showing for this hackathon.
Okay, that's of course very encouraging. But Virendra, if I could just ask you, what really the point that Anshul is making is that loads of people who sort of say they're working on education, but perhaps going after, as he put it, low-hanging fruit. What really is the biggest challenge in your opinion? We've just seen the Prime Minister, the government reach out to young entrepreneurs and startups, and among the areas they want them to focus is education. Do you believe that people like yourself can sort of fill this vacuum that we seem to have created?
Definitely, when we have opportunities here, when Prime Minister is himself saying that we are more into the entrepreneurship in India. So the talent in India are sufficient to solve the problems in India. And we, the students. What
do you miss? What do you believe more needs to be done? What can be done to support people like you more?
So the students has to be more towards into problem solving rather than going through textbooks and hooking through the textbooks. So they have to be more into real life world problem solving. So like these hackathons help us to go into those areas.
Okay, Devashish, many would say that of course is the problem with the way our education system is actually structured at present, that you just have to go after the marks, it's 100% or nothing, so students very often don't have a choice. The point that Vitra is making is of course, think beyond just those books. But again, it could be argued that is that really possible? Does our education system even allow for that? Is there any space for that?
I think historically speaking, when I was in high school, I was in CBSE and the curriculum was very well structured. But now that I think in the last 3-4 years, I've seen a lot of redesigning of a lot of things have happened. For example, the Atal Innovation Mission have started tinkering labs. So this was a new development I got to know recently, and my high school is participating in it. So now that I see that the kids over there, so I'm a very active member of my high school, trying to organize a lot of things. Now with this initiated by the government and a lot of support from their side, we are able to, for the first time, teach 3D printing to a grade 6 student.
I see.
Right, which was not possible when I was in high school. Right, so starting.
Where did you study?
I studied in Amity International School, Gurgaon.
Okay.
Right, so over there, when I was in high school, we used to crave, like, used to go out of the way, attend alternative schools, you know, to learn coding. And now 3D printing, which is a cutting-edge technology, which is
again the access
is
there.
Being solved in a certain way. I think it will take time, but I see good initiatives taking place in the lower level, like in the root level of education, and I'm sure like it will definitely crawl up towards the higher education when we talk about colleges.
Okay. That's of course also very important, isn't it, Anshul? Because again, you know, it's the bottom of the pyramid that always tends to lose out. You know, at the top, of course, there are plenty of opportunities, and you know, if you have deep pockets, if you can afford it, then the best opportunities are there for you. But bottom of the pyramid, is that what AI can target? Are those the students that AI can sort of open a whole new window and world to?
Sure. Let me get a term here that's very popular in the AI community. It's called personalization. Now, if you think about personalization, it's by no means an education-specific term, but it means that it's a solution that is specific to where you are right now. And so, Natasha, you're asking the question, is it just for the rural community? I believe that personalization, which is enabled by AI, can impact every individual no matter where they are, whether it is the base of the pyramid as you described, or anywhere else in the pyramid. And the nice thing about AI is you don't have to trade one end of the pyramid for the other. You get benefits at each level, because what AI allows you to do is, for example, to learn about the person taking a test as they're taking a test, to learn about the reader as they're reading a textbook, and to adapt the solutions that it's offering based on that understanding. And that's something that can help the base of the pyramid. It can help people who went to more privileged schools, anyone.
How have things sort of changed? Do you believe that things have changed? The kind of experiments, the kind of ideas, the kind of innovation that people like you are trying, how much time do you believe before we can sort of see it achieving something, see the results?
Yeah, exactly. Curiosity is developing in the school children as well. There was an incident when I was presenting my project in the open house of IIT Delhi. There was a student of 6th class. He came up with an idea of digitalizing the entire home with IoTs and the products, and extended my design so that he can use in his own house. His parents are also promoting this kind of culture. So I believe that change is coming at that time. And AI can provide a deep role in it, because it has a lot of scalability in it. As Anshul is saying, personalizing the education for every kid is not possible with a tutor for everyone. But AI can act as a personalized experience for every kid. So this is how we can improve and empower the education for every.
Okay, I haven't got beyond the class 6 student there at this presentation that you people were making and coming up with ideas and what you could do. But Anshul, would it be fair to say that there is some sort of a shift then in that sense, that people are more open, more aware, and we're sort of talking about it? I mean, earlier we just heard about class 7 and 6 students starting preparing for the IITs. This is very different. Here's someone who's sort of maybe not thinking laterally, but thinking big in a sense, and it's never too early to start.
Absolutely. There's a shift at every level. It's at the government level, as we've seen with the Champions for Change event that the PM has put together with Niti Aayog. There's change at the parent mindset level and the student level that Harsh is talking about. I'd be happy to share a personal story from that second batch. For the last 6 years, I've been running an education company called Camp K-12 in India, working with K-12 schools. 6 years ago, when I came and I said, hey, I learned how to build things because teachers took the risk and taught me to make games, something I like to do, people thought I was crazy. Why should we let kids work on things like games? Why should we let them code? There's so much to be doing for the 10th class, 12th class exams. There's so much test prep to do. They have to run from coaching center to coaching center. So where's the time coming from? But then I reminded them, I said, look at any entrepreneur you respect. Look at whether it's the Zuckerbergs that you mentioned at the start of this talk, or an author like J.K. Rowling, and ask the question, when they got started, sure, they might have dropped out of Harvard, but they got into Harvard before they dropped out of Harvard. So they weren't throwing everything away and then doing it. They were balanced people who were taking a shot at many different things. And so I've seen that mindset start to trickle in, and I'm very happy about it. That's what keeps me excited as an education entrepreneur in India. It's what makes me excited about what AI can do. And it's very exciting to see that the audience is there at every level for that change. And they're asking the private sector, startup entrepreneurs to come and provide it.
That really is encouraging, really, even to hear you say that. That really is encouraging in a sense. But Devashish, how did you get into it? I mean, if Anshu is being asked, you know, you're a founder looking at a company, sort of an entrepreneur working with education. Right. Are these the kind of ideas, you know, all three of you focused firmly on AI in education? It could, of course, be argued for all of you as well. Why not something, say, which is considered more, if not fashionable, then more sort of mainstream? How come education?
How come education? I think that's a good question. Personally, I think it's a personal thing where I was just interested in it. For example, I'm the eldest kid in the family, so I always taught my siblings and my cousins. So there was a natural, you know, teacher kind of a role that I was playing. So that got me more, you know, aware about the problems that education systems at high school level, at college level happens. Plus, I think with this hackathon, there was a good platform, which I felt like a good platform to produce something which can be noticed by the right partners, right? So being IIT or be it Niti Aayog.
So these are opportunities also.
Yeah, the opportunity plus my interest sort of intersected, and that's why I got into it.
Okay. Yeah. Were you pleasantly taken aback when you won, Virendra, or were you expecting it? The competition, from what Anshul is describing, it seems to be reasonably intense.
Yeah, so I thought I did a project on my own, so I was only the one person who was working on this project.
Oh wow, a one-man army.
So I did a prototype of my idea or concept. So it basically converts any text format into a video which narrates the whole text with relevant images showing. So the relevant images are being drawn from internet using machine learning and NLP. So basically, whenever a student reads, instead of reading a textbook, he can see a video for 1 hour and they'll get to know everything in the textbook.
Again, you know, when we sort of are told not to allow our children access to technology because it will take away from their study time. Here, of course, the point is just the opposite. Allow them to do even better. What was your experience like through it all, Harsh? Have you sort of drawn on something personal, you know, like she has to come up with your focus on education?
Yeah, we at IIT Delhi have often faced some problems while reading through text materials and the stuffs that we got through. The education process has become slightly mundane and dull, especially when considered reading some deep subject matter type thing. So it's our personal experience and a personal pain point, we should say, that we have experienced. We should make it interactive so that a reader can engage itself to it. A person when reading it through just lot of text, it can get lost in somewhere in between and would not it have to read it again and again and again. So this has become a very dull and mundane process. So
and this is what you're trying to sort of change and alter, as we know it.
So we have planned an application where students can get an engaging assessment from the app. It generates relevant questions intelligently from the text that he has just read. He can answer there and can check their answers after some time from the flashcards.
Okay.
So this kind of application can help students continuously engage it.
Were you surprised when you won?
Slightly.
Yeah. Was the competition, you thought, pretty close?
Yeah, I think that most of the applications are good that have been built with some innovative ideas. So I would say that it is quite close competition.
Okay. Okay, Anshul, I'm starting to wrap, but I'll give you the last words. You know, you're from Harvard. You worked at Google, Apple, Microsoft. My last question as I wrap to you is that, you know, there are all those who are perhaps watching this today and thinking that all those opportunities could have been yours. You focused on education. What are the two things that you would like to see change in the system for you to sort of, for people like yourself to see all these technology initiatives in education take India and its young to where we believe we ought to be?
Yes, thank you for giving me the chance to share my opinion on this, because I think it's an important question. And the two things, or one or two things that I would like to see change is when it comes to the role of government and when it comes to the role of our senior leadership here, I'd like to see them working with the private sector on really large-scale curriculum reform, in bringing not just for K-12 but for higher ed, for skilling beyond that. But I'd like to see 21st century skills introduced in our education system here. As an education entrepreneur, as you said, and after my own education, graduating college in the US, I came to India because I think that private sector can make a big difference, and entrepreneurs can do that. I think that if we can work together with public sector, the impact can just be so much larger, reaching the base of the pyramid that you're talking about, changing the mindsets from a very young age. So I'd love to collaborate with public sector on that.
Okay, we're of course all in this together. We're going to be the youngest country in the world by 2020, which is why all these opportunities in education now just so very crucial. A young country hungry for the best opportunities, best access. Can AI and artificial intelligence provide young India? That is the big question. But thanks all so much for taking our time to speak to us. Devashish, Harsh, Virendra, and of course Anshul. Thanks all so much.